knowing that there is only one life. It is wild, infinite, and pulsing with intelligence. It is in the moss that softens the forest floor, the wing beat of the hawk that carves spirals in the sky, and in the way that mycelial network threads life beneath our feet. This divine presence is not separate from mud or from moonlight, from wind or from wonder. It is the aching beauty of this world becoming itself again and again in every season. This life is the holy compost of stars and of silence. It is alive, it is listening, it is all that there is. And I am not separate from this sacred aliveness. I am it. I am composed of the same fire that fuels the stars, the same stillness that lives inside the stone. Spirit sees through my eyes, breathes through my lungs, and loves through my presence. And I know that this community is a living grove of spirit. Each soul a distinct tree, each one rooted in that same infinite divinity, and each one crowned by the same unbroken sky. There is not a place where the divine ends and this community begins. And so it is from this awareness, from this consciousness, that I speak my word for this community. I know that this service is already a perfect unfolding of that one life in expression. I know that the words spoken today are alive with insights and clarity, awakening each one to something essential within their hearts. I know that the music today rises and moves through this community in a language that is beyond words, carrying with it joy and healing and remembrance. And I know that in those still spaces between the notes played and the words spoken, that Spirit speaks in the quiet, where truth is felt as much as it is known. This entire morning, this entire life is a living prayer, a seamless weaving of sound, silence, and sacred intention, blessing all those who are present and rippling far out beyond this gathering. And so I give great thanks for that perfect, unwavering law that always responds to the impress of our thought and brings all into being with precision and grace. I am grateful for that sacred and personal process that only knows to say yes to that seed that's been planted in mind. I am grateful for the way this law moves through this community, shaping connections, insights, and right action. I'm also grateful for knowing that as our thoughts align with truth, that the law reacts unfailingly, and that the good is already there in that mind and showing up and revealing itself in this shared field of consciousness. And so I release this word into that law, knowing that it is done, knowing that it is unfolding, and it is now, and so it is.
So Thich Nhat Hanh, we're working this whole month with this book, Teachings on Love by Thich Nhat Hanh, and I had time to really dive into this book pretty deeply during the Soaring retreat. There's some free time there. I highly recommend this book. It's a beautiful book, powerful book. And so Thich Nhat Hanh, and his nickname is Tay, which means teacher in Vietnamese, says, words sometimes get sick and we have to heal them. And he said love has been used, love is one of those sick words, has been used to mean an appetite or a desire, which such as I love chocolate, or I love my red Miata, or I love the Oregon Ducks. But in Buddhism, the primary meaning of love is friendship. It is the intention and the capacity to offer joy and happiness. Take a breath. Breathe that in. The intention and capacity to offer joy and happiness. In Thomas Troward's 7 main aspects of God, love is the second of those 7 aspects, and it follows life. And love is the givingness of life, the life that wants to share itself with others. It's the desire to share and enhance the experience of life. And it helps to remember the final aspect of those 7 is joy. And so the outcome of life is intended to be joy with love along the way. So the purpose of life is joy. Ernest Holmes defines both love and grace as the self-givingness of the Spirit. Love is the impulsion to give. Grace is what is given. It is the givingness of Spirit. And that love and grace are ever present but must be recognized. Krishna said, the breeze of grace is always flowing. Set your sails to catch that breeze. Set your sails, open up to catch that breeze. So how do we raise our sails? Well, if you were here last week, Reverend Carey gave us the answer. It's the ability to spell triskaidekaphobia. How many of you were here last week? Yes. You may remember that little story. I'm not going to spell it. Thich Nhat Hanh has a different suggestion. He calls it the Buddhist practice of the 4 immeasurable minds, which I think of as different faces of love, if you will, different aspects of it. And those 4 immeasurable minds are loving kindness, which is the desire to offer happiness. The desire to offer happiness. The second one is compassion, the desire to remove suffering from another person or from ourselves, because often we need to be compassionate with ourselves, yes? The third one is joy, the desire to bring joy to people around you and allowing their joy to bring you joy. So joy, again, is a flowing process. It flows out, it comes back, we give it, and we receive it. Many people are good at giving things, but not so good at receiving. We have to open up to both of those to let that whole flow. And then the fourth aspect is equanimity, which is the desire to accept everything and not discriminate. Tay says, when you love because living things need your love, not because someone belongs to your family, your nation, or your religion, then you are loving without discrimination and practicing true love. When you dwell in these 4 elements, you are living in the most beautiful, peaceful, and joyous realm in the universe. He actually jokingly says, if someone asks your address, say, I'm living in the Brahmaverse. He says, which is better than any of the $10,000 a month condos that you could live in. So we'll come back to these 4 in just a couple minutes here. I want to play with an image of love that supports us in that. So imagine love as that allness, the everythingness that is, the essence of life, the energy of life itself. It is the core of life, everywhere and always present. Take a moment, breathe in, and imagine that there is this pulsing love that is at the center of you, me, all of life. Many spiritual teachings say that God is love. There's a psalm in the Old Testament, Psalm 139, that expresses the fullness of this beauty wonderfully. It says, if I ascend into the heavens, you, which is God or love, are there. If I descend into Sheol, which is simply the realm of the underworld of where all dead souls go in the Hebrew and actually the Greeks also idea, behold, you are there also. So no matter how high or how low I go, there is love. There is this infinite love. If I lift up my wings like those of an eagle and dwell in the outermost parts of the sea, even there shall your hand lead me and your right hand hold me. Imagine that for a minute, being held in the right hand of God. And yes, we're anthropomorphizing this infinite presence, but imagine that you're there in that presence, wherever you are, that love is. And it says, if I say, surely the darkness shall be as light upon me. In other words, even if darkness is all I see, Even the night shall be light before my face, the darkness shall not be dark to love. Everywhere present, no matter where we go, no matter what we can do, we are immersed in and are an embodiment of this infinite love. So this infinite love is the surging, uplifting, expanding nature of life. Again, feel that. Move your body with that. Surging, expanding, opening. Nature of life, always and everywhere present. And all we have to do is raise our sails and soar. You know, the other day, Bonnie and Andy Anderson were staying at my house this past week. And so Andy and I were out on Woodard Bay, and we were watching an eagle soaring. And he commented on how eagles rarely flap their wings. If you've ever watched an eagle, or a hawk is the same way, or a large bird, they rarely flap their wings. They're simply soaring on the updraft. They don't work or struggle at flying. They simply open their wings and are lifted. And it's only if they're first taking off or wanting to rise higher that they do a little work of flapping. See, love, like the air, tends to lift us. This song, Watch Love Rise, reminds us that it's, first of all, not watch me rise in love, it's watch love itself rise. And can I float with that? Can I soar with that? Can I be part of that? That it's the nature of love, capital L love, to rise, no matter what the circumstances, but we have to open the wings within our heart and our soul. We have to open to it. During the retreat, Reverend Dr. Christian Sorensen, who's from Seaside down in Encinitas, who's a very tame, mild-mannered speaker, who basically is running across the whole stage back and forth, exhorting us, and he was powerful talk. Anyways, he said that, how did he put this? Your mind will drive you crazy, your soul will drive you home. Our intellect, our trying to figure things out, will drive us crazy. Our soul, if we listen to it, that's our sail that we put up into life, into love, will drive us home. So to soar in love, we must open up and receive the ever-present love, letting it rise within us. We don't have to make the rising happening. It's already there. We just have to align with it. Letting ourselves be lifted from that rising. And so that brings us back to dwelling in the rooms of the four immeasurable minds, the four faces of love. So let's take little more in depth at each one of those. So the 2nd century Buddhist teacher Nagarjuna said, practicing the first immeasurable mind of love extinguishes anger. Extinguishes anger. This is the one that's loving kindness. All of us are born with seeds of anger as well as seeds of love. Which seeds do you want to water and nourish? And so to engage this practice, we must practice looking and listening deeply to learn how to support another's happiness. Tay gives the example of someone who offered him a durian fruit, which is this thorny Asian fruit that has an intense odor. And he finds it very off-putting. Let's put it, he intensely dislikes it. And he said that somebody offering him this would cause him suffering, even though it's intended as a gift in love. So this is love, as he says, this is love without understanding. This is love without knowing what it is that the person really needs to be loved. Our practitioners are trained, for instance, to listen to their person's story with great compassion. That's our second mind. To listen with great compassion, but not believe the story that's being told, so that they can discover and understand what the person really needs and how to really support them for their deeper happiness. Just as an alcoholic might come and say, I really need a drink, when what they really need to be truly happy is someone to say no and help them find what will truly bring them happiness. Tay says, without understanding, love can't be true love. Can we take the time to understand what is this person in front of me And for that matter, what does my deepest self need for love? The second mind of true love is compassion. Although Tay says that's not exactly the right word. The root of compassion simply means suffering together, but we don't need to suffer to help remove suffering from another any more than a doctor has to be sick with the same disease in order to heal their patient. So we don't have to suffer. I sometimes use the metaphor of if you find a person in quicksand, jumping into the quicksand with them might feel like a really nice, compassionate thing to do, but it doesn't help either one of us, right? So to develop compassion within ourselves, we practice mindful breathing to stay centered. That keeps us on the ground. And then we practice deep listening and looking so we know how to truly support a person who is suffering. With compassion in our hearts, Tay says, every thought, word, and action can bring about a miracle. And he says it doesn't have to be a lot of words. It can be just a simple word, a simple action, even a simple thought. I was listening to somebody the other day who said that they came out of a Safeway store, which was next to a Starbucks, and found a homeless man who asked them, can you help me? And they said, would you like a cup of coffee? And the man said, well, what I'd really like is a cup of hot chocolate. Okay? So we make the assumption, what they need is coffee, And so the person went into the store, bought him a cup of hot chocolate and a breakfast sandwich, and tucked a $5 bill in with the breakfast sandwich and gave it to the person. And he just beamed and said, you have just made my whole day. That's taking the time to look and understand and listen. What is it that's really needed here? Instead of just saying, I know what you need, let me give it to you. The third mind of true love is joy. True love always brings joy to both the ones who are giving and the ones who are receiving. And this is joy that is filled with peace and contentment. You might say it's a joy that passes understanding. So true joy, true love is flowing when all involved, ourselves and others, are experiencing real deep joy. Real deep joy. Not a surface level of happiness, but what is it that brings real deeper joy? And then the final mind of love is equanimity. This involves non-attachment, non-discrimination, seeing and loving all as equals, as divine beings, not based on our ideas of how they should be or should act. I know none of us do that, but people who, that's how they kind of quote love, yes? It's also not a cold indifference, but a warm love that can recognize and see past the surface stuff, including our own conditioned beliefs, and love as we align with love. And so rather than efforting at love, as we raise our sails to love, we rise in love like the eagle rising on the thermal breeze. And at first, this may feel uncomfortable because most of us, let's get honest, we're conditioned not to be this way, yes? We were conditioned to live not in love, but in control, in defensiveness, which is what the mind of insanity, the one that Christian talked about earlier, what the mind of insanity does, because it feels afraid and it tries to protect itself from people and things that it fears might hurt us if we don't control and protect. Again, none of you, but you know people who do this, yes? But the exact opposite is really true. What we all really want is to love and be loved, yes? Look at your neighbor, nudge your neighbor, and just say, what I really want is to love and be loved. What I really want is to love and be loved. So it's literally our core divine nature to love. But we get scared, we get conditioned, we get possessive and inappropriately protective and stop the flow and become like the proverbial fish seeking water. You know that one? The fish is looking for water, immersed in water. We're already immersed in love. It's only when we realize that we are love, immersed in a field of infinite love. Say that, I am love, immersed in a field of infinite love. It's only then that we can truly live as love, which is our vision statement. We are here to live as love. And we rise in love not through struggle, but by willingness to jettison all the weighted baggage that keeps us struggling and keeps us low to the ground. Breathe. In the next 2 weeks, we'll look at the turbulence of love and the descent of love. And I just want to, this is for Sandy Dell, this is not the decent love, it's the descent of love. We've been having fun with words about that. We'll be looking at the turbulence of love and the descent of love for practical ways to deal with the turbulence that seems to be caused by love. Hint, it isn't love that causes the turbulence, right? And how to live it and how to let it live us more fully in our everyday lives. So even eagles come out of the sky sometimes, yes? But the thing is, they know how to rise back up. We get knocked out of our sky sometimes. We get knocked out of soaring in love sometimes. But as we practice and get more skilled at it, we know how to rise back up. We know how to, in the words that I think it was 80s song, let love lift us up where we belong, which is soaring in and as love. So this week, 2 practices that I want to invite you to play with. The first one is choose one of the 4 immeasurable minds, the 4 faces, the 4 elements of love. And they are, I think we have them up there, loving kindness, compassion, joy, and equanimity. Choose one of those. You might choose one that you say, I'm really good at this, I'm just going to expand and get better at it. Or you might say, that one's a little kind of challenging for me, so I'm going to start to really work with that. And so to commit to more deeply practicing that one. Okay? And then the second practice this week is to spend time simply contemplating love. We become what we contemplate. So contemplate love. Are you willing to play with those 2 practices? You know, I just came from a retreat with 250 ministers, practitioners, and really active members who I'm used to a little more enthusiasm. So let's try it again. Are you willing to play with these practices this week? Yes! Oh, yes! Thank you. See, here's the thing. If we don't enthusiastically say it, our body and our soul and our emotions don't enthusiastically get it. We kind of, yeah, I'll do that. I'll probably, yeah. And 5 minutes from now, I'm going to forget that completely. So yeah.
Paper and pens on the backs of the chairs. You can actually write this stuff down.
Yes, and it's also on Facebook and our website that Sandy puts it up there every week. Bless her heart. I'm going to close with a quote from the writer Anne Lamott, who says, grace, or love, meets us where we are and does not leave us where it found us. Grace meets us where we are and does not leave us where it found us. We have our affirmation. Say this with enthusiasm in life with me. I let infinite love lift me and I soar. One more time. I let infinite love lift me and I soar. And so I do. And so it is. Thank you.